Well, this is a very exciting day for someone who works in a museum with collections that are kept under lock and key or behind glass, to actually be involved with the replication of an original object. In this case, George Washington's Revolutionary War marquee or sleeping tent, the first Oval Office. And I'm here with Neal Hurst from Colonial Williamsburg, who is the project supervisor for the first Oval Office project. And Neal, what are we working on today here?
Today we have the group of stitchers that we have hired to begin the process to replicate George Washington's marquee. And what we're working on this afternoon is putting together what was referred to as a common tent, the basic tent that an 18th century soldier would have been living in. That's about 6 feet wide, 6 feet in depth, and 6 feet tall. It's a sort of a good practice to begin to learn about the techniques of assembling a tent from the 18th century.
All the stitching techniques, everything's the same, it's just a much smaller.
Correct. So what we were able to do is look at Washington's marquee and take a lot of those stitching techniques from that and then use those to assemble the pieces that we're working on this afternoon.
Can you talk a little bit about the materials that are going to go into this replication of Washington's tent?
So the tent that survives Washington's marquee has a lot of very specific things that we need to have reproduced in order to have it be as accurate as possible. Family Weavers here in Pennsylvania just delivered to us the skirth webbing that is going to be used to go around the edge of the tent that the actual hooks and eyes are fastened to, sort of giving it some little bit more stability there, as the hooks and eyes actually hang the walls that go around the marquee itself. Really great reproduction that they were able to make for us, you know, as exacting as we can get. The folks at Colonial Williamsburg as well have completed this piece of fabric here. And it's a copy from the fabric that's in the inner chamber. So we have Washington's main marquee, and then inside there's sort of a, almost like a dormitory that's in the interior. And this is the fabric.
So this was actually hand woven at Colonial Williamsburg?
Hand woven at Colonial Williamsburg, correct.
That's tremendous. And I'm tempted if there's vampires that show up in tent shops. What's this for? What's this for?
Well, along with the various different fabrics that we need, we're also having to have replicated tools, including fids, like the ones you see here, along with various other pieces too, sailors' palms and various different types of ropes. Tremendous amount of rope that's actually used to actually keep the tent up.
Neal, what sorts of people in the 18th century would have been sewing tents, whether common tents for the Army or a tent for General Washington? Or was it a specific trade tent maker, or
You know, it is quite interesting because it seems that once you have the outbreak of the American Revolution, a lot of the tradesmen, particularly within the sewing trades, end up changing their occupation from making items for civilians to taking on military contracts. So in many cases, tailors who are making men's clothing, you know, breeches, waistcoats, and coats, are now making these sort of very plain geometric items like tents and marquees. But because of that as well, and we know specifically with this marquee, there was also women working on the project. And so it seems like both roles, both men and women and men and women's trades also worked on these projects to help facilitate making objects for the Continental Army.